Hello friends, welcome back. I am so excited for today because we are taking this virgin hair to this beautiful, chunky, blue Neapolitan, calico, whatever you want to call it. It is so fun. And I had to show a ton of different angles in the beginning because I couldn't even pick a favorite video because it's so cool. So I'm so excited to get into this. Before we start lightening, I'm going to prep her with a little bit of water. When you spray the hair with water before the K18 mist, it just helps open up the cuticle and that way the mist can take better into the hair. So I just like to kind of brush it a little, make sure everything's damp, and then I am spraying that K18 mist everywhere because I want her to stay really healthy during the lightening process. And then I brush that through and you just have to wait 4 minutes and then you can get going. But I am going to start sectioning her out. So it's gonna be a little difficult to see exactly how I sectioned her out. But you have to keep in mind that the blonde sections, I want to be a little bit bigger because they're gonna be 2 colors, the blue and the like white silvery blonde. And then her natural dark brown is just going to be that 3rd color. So you can see I separated in the middle there in the back. That's just because those are really big sections. But I decided since it's hard to see, I would show you after I finish lightening. This is no toner or anything. This is after I finish lightening. And those are all of my different sections. I've got the blonde in the white numbers and I have the dark natural color in the black numbers. And like I said, the only reason that I have it split off there in the middle in the back is because her hair is so short, it's hard to do just one section. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going through each of the sections that I'm going to be lightening, and I'm taking really, really fine, small sections in a foil, and I'm going almost all the way to the root, but I'm staying a little bit off the root like you would during a platinum card. So I'm basically doing a platinum card, but I am leaving out those little dark natural chunks. So yes, this is a super time-consuming process, but it is so worth it. Now, I know a lot of people might be wondering why I am taking such small foil sections instead of just painting the hair and keeping it in one section. And that is because her hair is so dark. It is not going to lighten evenly and to the platinum blonde that I want it to be if I am just doing it without a foil and just coating it in open air. It's just not going to get the same lift if I do it like this. Now, another question might be, why am I not doing the foils vertically instead of horizontally? And to be honest, I tried it and it's just very uncomfortable and you have a lot more risk of bleeding. I have a lot more control this way and I know that it's not going to get onto my dark sections because I'm taking these horizontal ones. If I did a vertical one, it would be lying on top of the sections that I'm trying to keep it off of. So maybe doing these little horizontal foils are more time consuming, but for me, it's what works best. I don't like doing those vertical foils. I feel like you have such a larger risk of bleeding. And like I said, those really small sections are going to get such more like an even lift than you would if you were just doing it without a foil. Now I am using Danger Jones Lightener. I started with a 5 volume and then I kept making my way up as I went through the head. So as you can see, those really nice tiny sections, saturate, 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 and then folding it up. Now, sometimes I don't fold and sometimes I fold. I felt like these hairs were short enough and the section was fine enough to where I could fold it up. But as I went up the head and her hair got longer, I wound up just leaving it flat and putting another foil on top. But for these ones, I'm just folding. Now, if my client had fine hair and was maybe a natural blonde, like a natural level 7 or something, I might just do it in open air with like a cream lightener, because then I'm going to get enough lift because it only needs to go a few levels. But because she has like coarser, really dark hair, I definitely want these super small sections and these really tiny foils. Now, I didn't film every single section because it's pretty much the same exact thing on every section. So I didn't think you needed to see 500 little foils. I think you pretty much get the idea. Plus, I have a ton of other videos that show lots of foiling. So this pretty much just is going to show you where everything is. But you can see how much I twist those hairs. That's the natural section. So I like to twist it up like that because then I know that it's out of the way. And then I am just doing that same section on the other side and getting everything super saturated and covered. These are my longer pieces now, so I'm just doing those foils on top like I was saying. Instead of folding it up, I want to get a really nice even lift on that longer hair, so sticking it in there. And I am just going to make my way through these 2 sections in the back. Like I said, I wanted the blonde sections to be a little bit thicker than the dark because they are going to have 2 colors, and then the dark is going to be just the 1 color. So it's 3 colors that we want after everything. And because we are doing like an icy blonde and like a light tealish blue, I wanted to pre-tone her hair so that it was already icy underneath before I went in with my color. So this is going to be like a whole triple process, really fun project. But you can see how much I'm saturating each section. And over here, I am using the double foil technique and just laying it flat. And of course, folding it so that it's out of the way from my natural color sections. This is another trick that I have, is combing through the section. Sometimes when it's coarse hair and really dark hair, I like to use a comb like that because then I know that it's being fully saturated with the lightener. But you can see here it's a little bit closer up and how much I'm really saturating and then combing through, because then I know for sure that that section is coated. And then just brushing, I am staying slightly off the scalp and closing it up. And you can see how clean it is away from those natural sections because I'm taking those horizontal ones, those really thin horizontal sections. Like I said, it's very, very time consuming. Maybe you have a better way of doing it. Maybe you like taking those vertical sections and you're not worried about bleeding, but I don't really like to move my foils that much once I've placed them. So if I can't see my natural hair section and it's like a vertical one over it, then I'm not gonna like that. So this time consuming way is my favorite way. But you can see how much I am coating those sections and then closing it up. And over here on the other side, I am doing the exact same thing, taking really nice fine sections. And you can see on both sides, I have those brown sections out of the way. Now, I sped this one up just so you can kind of see exactly what I'm doing through the entire process, because I know there was a lot of sections there. So at least this way you can see an entire section, even though it's in really fast motion. But you can also see sometimes when I get the section, I will put the lightener underneath the section. I feel like that really helps saturate it too. So there's a lot of really good hacks for saturation. There's putting it under the section as you lay it down, putting it on your foil, running the comb through. There's so many different things that you can do. And saturation with lightener, especially on dark hair, is so important because you are not going to get an even lift without perfect saturation. I know I say that on every video, but it's true. It's so important. And this is that whole little section here that's basically like a headband over there. And then on the front, I'm basically leaving out a really small slice right in front of her face because I want that dark as the very first part in her little money piece and fringe. She wants like really long wispy bangs that cover her eyes, like very 90s, and I'm living for it. So, they turned out so cute on her. But I wanted to have the dark pieces shattering underneath the fringe and on top of the fringe because I wanted just a little bit of the white and the blue mixed into the fringe. So that way you still see mostly the dark kind of on top and underneath, but we're getting all three colors in the fringe that way. So it's the same thing with the hair on top near her forehead. I am just doing that little slice out in the front so it's dark, and then I am foiling the hair behind it, that little tiny section, and then leaving more out above it. So those are my dark pieces. That was my little under the section trick with the lightener, and saturate everything. Whew, you guys, we are almost through the lightening part, which is super exciting because this was definitely the most time-consuming part of it. And here I'm just finishing off those last few pieces that are going to be her long fringe that are kind of shattering over. So cute. And you have to really plan out what your cut is going to be when you start coloring also. So I already knew exactly how I wanted her fringe to look when I colored and sectioned that out. But now I'm going to start pulling all of those foils in the back, and look at that beautiful lift we got. So this right here is why I love those little tiny horizontal sections, because I can pull my foils, I can see it perfectly. It is like gorgeous, level 10, lifted, perfect, and it's not in the way of my natural hair sections. If I would have taken vertical sections, I can guarantee you there would have been so much bleeding on the natural hair. Like taking out those foils, even the foils just sitting, it just is going to be so much more difficult to take out and hit the roots. So I am just pulling all of these foils because they are all done back here. And just remember, I started with 5 volume. So most of these are 5 to 10 volume on the very top. And look at that beautiful lift from almost black hair. So I'm just using my towel to wipe that lightener off and making sure that my natural section is clean. So I am constantly going through and just like twisting them and getting them out of the way and being extremely paranoid, but it is so important. See how I twisted that and then stuck that in there. So now it is out of the way. Now I'm doing the same thing on the other side, pulling all of my foils that are done. And then after I pull all the foils, that is when I will go through and hit the roots and also kind of run through anything on the mids or anything that I feel like needs to be lightened again. And once again, playing with my natural color, getting it out of the way. But look at how perfectly it's separated and out of the way. I love it. Once again, I just don't think you can beat those little tiny horizontal sections. But now I'm going to go through and tap those roots, and I'll speed it up for you so you can see what I'm doing on everything without having to watch it for like 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. But going through, tapping the roots, and then kind of running the lightener through any parts where I feel like it needs a little bit more love. And it is beautiful. Look at how nice and separated it is from that natural color. I am also using 20 volume with the Danger Jones lightener on this part because we want those roots to lift quickly, but I never went over a 20 volume. So normally I'll go from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. And here I am adjusting that section, and they are all out of the way, looking gorgeous. Same thing on the side now because these are done. I am just going to keep pulling any foils that are finished so I can get it out of the way. And you can see this section over here. Look at how gorgeous it is. And I'm laying it down on the foil because I don't want to make a mess. And I'm basically just going to repeat this on every section where I pull the foil out, make sure that I like the way that everything lifted, tap a little lightener on it if I feel like I need to, and hit those roots. So, like I was saying before, if you're familiar with the term, it's basically a platinum card. I'm going to speed it up a little for you so you can see it. But basically a platinum card where you go through, stay off the root, and then come in at the end and hit those roots. And finishing off my side there. And now I'm gonna go make sure my little section is twisted and out of the way. And then we can move to the other side and do the exact same thing. But I pulled all of those and then just tapping the roots, making sure that everything looks good. And then the last thing that I have to do is tap the roots on her little front fringe pieces and make sure that I like the way that everything lifted. And we are almost done. So here we have our shampooed twice with the K18 Detox Shampoo and the K18 Leave-In Mask. And I am gonna go through with my Danger Jones Gloss Toners. I am using 1032 and 1001 because I want it to be icy, but still a little natural at first because I don't need to get it super white yet. I am going to use a semi also. So I am just kind of pre-toning everything. And you can see here, I'm just getting out those little dark hairs. So the reason that I chose to use the gloss toners instead of the artistic toners is because the gloss toners are acidic and then the artistic toners are alkaline. So the artistic toners can lift natural hair. So I really just wanted to go through and slap this on and not worry about if it's going to touch any of her dark hair, because if that alkaline toner touches her dark hair, it's going to be orange, kind of reddish brown. It's going to lift it, and I don't want that. I want that really nice, natural, dark brown, almost black that she has. So that is why I am going with the gloss toner versus the artistic. It just gives me a lot more freedom, and I can kind of not worry so much if it's going to hit the dark pieces. Now I also am going through here and hitting any dark spots on the roots, or I should say any bleed marks on my dark sections, just to make sure that everything is perfect. For that, I just used the Kevin Murphy 3.0 with a 3.5 developer. That way, everything I know is going to be awesome. I'm not going to have any bleed marks. Here is after I washed out the toner. I'm doing another round of the K18 mask here. You want to let that sit in for 4 minutes and then you are good to go. It stays in. And here's her awesome highlights, all toned. So exciting. There is like nothing more satisfying than combing out fresh, chunky highlights. She's checking herself out. And then I just like to blow dry it, probably like 75% dry. And then we are going to start our fun colors. This is the best part. So the way that I decided to do it is to take those inch long, or I should say inch thick horizontal sections. And then those blonde chunks, I am splitting them in half. Half of it I am painting with my light color and the other half I am painting with my blue color. So for these colors that I made, my like white silvery color is the clear, which is basically just nothing. It's just clear. It's mostly used for diluting, but I used clear, Cyclone, and Exotica. So Cyclone is like basically just a silver, and then Exotica is a pastel purple. So I didn't want it to be silver and I didn't want it to be purple. I just wanted it to be like white. So that's why I mostly used clear and just a little bit of the other ones. Then as I make my way up in these inch long sections, I'm alternating the side that I do my white and my blue on. So if I had the blue on the right side on the section underneath, I'm going to do the blue on the left side. You don't have to do it like this. You can keep it the same all the way up, but I really wanted it to have a lot of movement and depth. So that's why I'm alternating with every inch thick section. Now my blue color, unfortunately, Vertigo, the neon blue, is being discontinued, but a new color is coming out, and I found a really great way to kind of make my own. So for this color, I did have a little bit of Vertigo left over, but it was mostly Poolside, which is the pastel blue, and then I added Vertigo into it and a little tiny bit of Oblivion, which is the regular teal. You can see here, I'm just taking those really skinny strips, and then because my blonde section is fatter than my dark section, it's matching perfectly with the size of the section with the natural dark, the white, and the blue. But you can see here, when I take this one, there's a blue underneath it, so I am painting it with my white color. And then I like to split it open, make sure that everything is super saturated. That is, once again, broken record, the most important thing. But I am really saturating with that color, working it through, and then doing my blue on the other side where there is a white underneath it. And this is just going to create so much more dimension than if I would have just done it the regular way. Now here we are moving to the front, and I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm splitting those sections in half, taking about inch thick horizontal sections, and then splitting it in half, doing turquoise on one side and then the clear white on the other. Same thing here, getting my inch thick section, and then I am swapping the side that they're on and making sure it is super saturated. Also, don't even look in the background, because this was such a crazy long day and so much work that my studio was a hot mess at the end of it. But excuse my color bar. But I am just repeating that same pattern. Look at that beautiful blonde I got with that Danger Jones gloss toner. And just repeating the same thing here, swapping sides on every section. Like I said, you don't have to swap it. You can just keep one whole vertical side blue, one whole vertical side silver, but I wanted to see more movement. She wanted a lot of movement, so that's what we are doing. And just making my way through every one of those blonde sections. So gorgeous. So I know that I posted a pinwheel calico before. So you could absolutely do a pinwheel with these colors as well. The only difference is a pinwheel doesn't have a chunky highlight on top. So if you want to see chunky highlight on top, pinwheel is not going to do that. You're just going to have one color that kind of shatters over the top on a pinwheel. So that is why we did not do that placement for this one, because she wanted that chunky highlight. I want it to look like headbands. So that is why it's different placement than my previous calico chunky video. Okay, so after this section, we are going to head to the fringe and the face frame, which is going to be slightly different than the rest of the head. So like I said, we're doing some really long, wispy, 90s bangs. So I want to have dark, blue, white, all three colors in the fringe. So I have a little slice of dark that was behind this blue. Now I'm taking a really thin slice of my teal, and then in front of that is going to be my white. And then once again, closest to her forehead is her natural dark. So we're gonna have all three colors in the fringe. That's exactly what I want. And doing the same thing here. And also with these Danger Jones colors, once I put the color on it, it is encapsulated. So even if I lay my clear section on top of my blue, it's not going to get blue on it. Now I'm doing this a little bit differently because these pieces are finer, they're skinnier than the other ones. So I am just taking those little inch thick sections, and that whole bottom one I did clear. And then this one right here, I am going to make turquoise. So that way she has slightly different chunky colors in that front face frame. It's like the teal on top and then it's the silver underneath it. Here is our beautiful after. You can see we got all 3 of those colors in her long wispy bangs. Here is straight. I'm going to show you so many different styles because I'm so obsessed with it. But oh, so gorgeous. Look at that dimension. I just kept styling it in different ways because I just could not stop staring at it. It was so beautiful in person. And then this was after we curled it. Amazing. Had to put a little butterfly clip in. Look at that natural dark. It looks like a headband. I'm just obsessed with it. She looks so good in those 90s wispy bangs. Ugh, I'm obsessed. It's probably one of my favorite colors I've ever done, and I'm not even just saying that. But if you guys like this tutorial, please like and subscribe because I give away free education every single Monday on my YouTube page. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.